Hello, welcome to Mart's Garage. Over the last few days I've been looking at and evaluating 3 engines, 2 French motors and a 59A, and this is the last of them. I've had them all in the stand. I've dismantled them so I can look at the crank and the rods and pistons and things, cam, lifters, valves, and what I'm trying to do is to select a block to build a new motor for the 32. The 2 French motors are 4-inch stroke, so basically I'm going to have a 4-inch stroke French motor. What I think I'm going to do is to bore it straight out to 3 5/16. I'll use the French crank, the French rods, new pistons, Ford type. I'll have to modify the pistons. I've got an Isky cam, I've got some followers adjustable, and I think I've got a set of 8BA type valves, and I will probably go to 1.6 on the inlets. It'll be pretty mild but a decent displacement. A little bit of modifications to the block will be required, and I think it will make a decent running engine that will go in there. I've pulled the other French flathead down and it's actually in pretty good shape, to the point where you could say, you know, this thing would actually run. There's a couple of small, hopefully insignificant cracks on the block, but the crank is in better condition than this crank, because this crank has been sitting for a very long time. It also looks like they butchered it somewhat while balanced in it. You know, look at all these sharp edges. So I don't want to put this into this crank into an engine that's going to be, you know, relatively a higher performance engine. So what I'm thinking of doing is using the crank and rods from the other French engine in this block as my higher performance. I'll clean this crank, find the rods for it, which I've got somewhere, and this crank will go in the other block for my lower performance French engine, which will go in the 34, and this one, which I believe is the better block with the better crank, the better rods from the other motor, will go in the 32. And then I might just be able to say, okay, that's okay, because that motor can go back in the truck. And the only thing that I would like to address on that motor is low oil pressure. So I've got all these rounds of trying to take account of all these different things. What I'm going to do then, I'm going to pull this crank out, then we'll take a closer look at this block. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. Hello, right, okay, I've took the crank out. There's the crank. And I will show you a couple of things that are peculiar to the French motor. First of all, it's got the 8BA type head face, but a 59A type bell housing. These ones from the SUMB models take the 4-inch crank. The main bearings are the 59A type. Don't do what I did and bought 8BA bearings on the first time I did one of these. The valve bowls are heavily restricted. They've got this restrictive casting there. So I've actually been working on another one of these recently, and I have opened all of them up on that engine, so I'm going to do the same job on this engine. The French motor has this boss work on the back here, this boss. I'm going to cut all this off. The reason I'm going to bore this motor out is because this bore here, this bore, isn't very good. It's quite badly pitted. The others are actually pretty good. The others would have been okay. The crank from the other motor and all the bearings look very good, and that they're capable of being used again. You know what I'm like. So I'm going to bore this out, probably 125 thou. Just go straight to 125 thou. If it breaks through, I'll sleeve it and bring it back to 60 thou. I will, and what I'll do, I will take all those things out and take that boss off the back. So that's the basic jobs I'm going to start doing on this motor. Okay, so that should give me plenty to be going on with. I will bring you back when I've done a bit more. Hello, I had about 15 minutes at it, going at it with a cutting disc. Got it down to that. This is on end now, so I'm looking the other way around than I was. It's quite difficult to get in, with the disc. So I'm going to go with a grinding disc now and try and start to blend it all in. Hello, right. I've had a go at it with a angle grinder. I think I'll get a sanding disc on it now. You don't need to go too mad, just need to get it looking okay. So that's part way through, and I'm doing it so all the mess goes over in this corner here. There we are, that's what I'm going to call the finished job. You could keep going and going and going, but to be honest, I think that's good enough for this job. Right ho, there's a hole to plug there, drill and tap, and there's a hole to plug here which needs some JB weld, which I'm out of at the moment because I used it up on my last one. So I'll finish that off when I've got the stuff to do it. I need a plug and a tap, and I need to clean all this and put some JB weld down there. I'll show you the cavity, look. Can you see down there where the light is? It's a bit of a funny shape. If it was round, you might have a chance of trying to, put a plug in it, but with it being oval like that, it's too difficult. Righto, okay, that's all looking good then. I will bring it back when there's more to show. I started cutting a seat. This is the tool that I used on the other block. It's the old Buma valve seat cutting tool. There's the bowl being cut away. Works well. Yeah, got a bit further to go yet. I'm using the phone as a torch more than anything, as a flashlight. Okay, yeah, a bit more to go. Hello, I've just realised I've done the first two, as you can see. Done the first two, but what I've realised is I haven't gone to the correct depth. You can see there's like a band that hasn't been touched there at the bottom. So, but I'm a little bit tired now because I've done all that there, and it is quite hard work doing these. So I'm gonna have a break now. Okay, but I've made a start, and I've got a little bit of a plan forming in my mind how I'm going to proceed. So this will be my engine for the 32 sedan. That's it for now then. I'll bring you back when there's more to show. Other than that, you take care and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Hello, I've got a very, very annoying thing to have to report. I've possibly and probably just ruined this block. I was hogging out these restricted ports. Done that one, and I've done this one, and I noticed a shadow on the side of this one, and I picked away at it and I went through into the water jacket. Now I was completely, well, I am completely gutted, and I was racking my brains to think how to try and repair it. And the best I could think of was to stick a 1/8 inch NPT tap through it, and I put an 1/8 inch NPT plug in the hole. The problem is, it's making me beg the question now, how thin are these others? And how thin is the other block that I've already done using this tool? So I might have just scrapped 2 French blocks, which by anybody's standards would be a bit of a disaster. Honestly, I don't know what to say. So I think this one, bear in mind I've only done that one and that one. I don't believe that I could build this as a high performance engine for the 32. At best, this could potentially just be a good stock plodding engine. I think this might be okay, but I can't prove it. So I wouldn't want to put a lot of time, effort and energy into this motor to find that it's no good. Which is a shame, because these French motors aren't cheap. Okay, I've had this one a long time, but even then, relatively, it wasn't cheap when I bought it. I was kind of putting my stock in these 2 French motors, you know, as my sort of future means of going forward. It looks like I'm going to have to make do with what I've got or think of something else. I'll have a close look at the first motor. If there's no signs of any shadows on the ports, I'll have to just cross my fingers and hope that that one's okay. But even that one, I think both of these motors need to just be built as stock plodders, to test them out, to test for problems. And if, for instance, the other one doesn't present any problems, you know, maybe that one would be the one to go for the overbore. I don't know. I haven't thought it out. There's a bad bore on this one. This bore here is bad. So there you are. So there's my little tale of woe. I busted through into the water jacket there. There was like a cavity and I started poking at it. I was too gutted, I couldn't even get the camera out. So that there, I've wound that in as tight as I dare. Bear in mind this wall is pretty thin. What I need to do now is come in with some sort of a tool and just trim this down now, because you can't get the valve in there. Well, the valve would go in there actually, but you'd have to put the guide in from underneath. But it might be best to just blend that off. No, but I'm completely gutted now. Completely gutted. I think I might have to take a little break and think about what I'm going to do. What a nightmare. so I think I might as well open these up, but to a much lesser degree. But if you are working on one of these French engines and you are opening these up, you don't want to do them quite as much as this. It's that scalloping out at that bottom edge there that was the problem. I think up the top here you're safe. Okay, right. Okay, good. It ain't all fun and, you know, it ain't all sweetness and light, is it, eh? We all have our crosses to bear. It's just a pain. It's not, you know, there's not people dying at sea. It's just a pain, isn't it? You intend to do something and suddenly you're not able to do it. Okay, righto. Thank you very much then. Bye. Right, I've just took that carbide burr there and kind of smoothed it out as best as I can. I don't want to go too much because I don't want to take anything at all off the wall. But I didn't really want to leave any kind of sharp edges. Oh well, it is what it is. Let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. Okay. What a nightmare. I'm really annoyed. There was a definite cavity. It came into like a cavity. It didn't kind of go thin. It was like a cavity and a hole. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping the others might be okay. But I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to stop short of that. I'm going to modify the shape of the tool so it's not quite so aggressive towards the bottom of that area. Okay, let's see what we can retrieve from this situation then. Okay, right, I've continued to cut these valve bowls out. I've opened them up, but what I've noticed is, can you see this one here hasn't cut very far down? Can you see that this one here has cut not very far down on this side, but it's cut along way down on that side? And this one here is a bit, well, actually you can't really see much on that one. This one here, which is an exhaust port, has cut like a heavy cut on this side there. Heavy cut there. So we've got heavy cut there, light cut there. Can you see where I'm going with this? This exhaust port, heavy, a light cut there, and this exhaust port obviously a heavy cut, but this was a heavier cut than the others, and this one went through. What I'm kind of getting at is there's some course shift in that direction. This exhaust port had material here on that side and isn't taking very much from that side. So in other words, the core, the material of the core is like this. So it's thin this side and thick this side. Well, the other way around, sort of. Yeah, it's on this side of the metal, it's thick this side and it's thin this side. But that means that the wall thickness is thicker here than it is there. So that's probably why, with a heavier cut, I've gone through there where I've had to make that repair. So fingers crossed the other block might be okay, because I will need to go and study it. Unfortunately, I've put it back together and put all the valves in and everything. But the other block that I did first, with these heavier cuts like this, might be okay, because it might not have this sort of core shift, which is a bit worrying, because if I want to bore this out, I need to know where the main core is. I need to know where the core is. It might be that the other block is a contender for the high performance engine after all. I just don't know. Just shows what you have to beware of. I mean, I've got hardly any experience building these, especially when you start modifying them. But you know, you make a few mistakes and you soon start to learn a few lessons, don't you? By and large, I think that this block is okay with regards to cracks. The other one has one or two cracks. As far as I can tell, I haven't noticed a crack on this one. But that core shift that's caused me to break through there is a bit, took me by surprise. But you know, hey, you learn lessons, don't you? So if I'm doing this again, I would kind of go half depth on all and look for patterns that will indicate any sort of offset in the core. Chances are I won't do this again, but I'm going to do the other side, for instance. So what I will do here is, you can see I've hardly took anything out of this bowl, but that's alright, because what it means is it's already out to that dimension there. So I'm just going to lightly lick that corner there with the carbide burr, and just do a little blendy, you know, just clean them up. Okay, I'm still fuming over that. If this one was to have a hole in it, it would be on this side, but I can't see any sort of shadow. So let's cross our fingers and hope my bozo moment is limited to that, and let's hope that that is an effective repair. Because I can put something into the coolant, can't I? You know, some sort of leak thing into the coolant. I'm reluctant to sort of try any sort of brazing or anything after my previous experiences. You know, you're more likely to introduce cracks. What I did notice on this motor, changing the subject, is it appears to have inserts. There's an insert here. This is an insert. I can't tell if the inlets are inserted. No, I don't think the inlets have got inserts, but it does look like the exhausts have got an insert. You know, I keep looking, and maybe I might be wrong about that as well. Maybe I've been wrong about a lot of things, unless one has been fitted there. There's definitely a I wonder if one was fitted there during the rebuild. It could have been, couldn't it? Yeah, I think that may have had an insert fitted. Okay, right, okay, I'm rambling, so okay, let's proceed then and just see how it turns out. Okay, catch you later then, bye. Hello, I've just gone round with the die grinder and just eased everything just a little bit. Tried not to take too much off the right hand side, because that's the thin side. There's more to do, but just an initial kind of lick around. Obviously I didn't do too much there because that's the one that these are the ones where I've got a problem. Okay, righto. Who knows, it might turn out to be okay. Certainly right for just trying a little bit too hard, doesn't it, trying to take everything out to the nth degree. Righto. First world problems, as they say. Okay, cheers then, bye. Hello, I've come out and just done another session, and I've just done all the ports on the other side, all the valve bowls on the other side, a more modest cut, and then a little blend with the die grinder. Not going mad at all, understandably. So this side's done. This side, the other side is done. And I just hope that that repair, which is on number 5, is okay. I don't know, I suppose it's got about a 50-50 chance of being okay. So I'm not going to invest a lot of time, money and effort in the motor until, you know, I can put it together, get it running and drive it, and just see how it goes. I'll do a bit more porting and cleaning of the ports, but I'm not going to do it now because it's quite late in the evening. Okay, righto, once again thank you very much for joining me in the garage. You take care and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Hello, this is my French Flatty, the one that's got the damage to one of the bowls. I've took it off the engine stand and put it down on the boring stand, if you like, the legs that I use for boring. That gives me a horizontal surface there. So I'm going to just clean it up a bit and put the boring machine on it. This bore here is bad. The others aren't too bad. I'm going to see if this bore will clean up at 45 thou. It might not, because it's at 30 thou now. But let's see what it looks like at 45 thou, and then I'll make a decision what I'm going to do. So I'll get the boring machine out then and try and reacquaint myself with how it works, and I'll bring you back when I've got more to show. Well, that's at 45 thou. If you look down that bore, which you can't, it hasn't cleaned up down that bore there. What I have failed to be able to show you is that I can't get the camera in. Down that bore there are some deep pits that it hasn't cleaned up. So I'm going to have a think about this. That's at 45 thou, you know, plus a little bit for clearance, so I can see them clearly as anything down there. Yeah, there they are. Can you see down there, look? There are some big... Let's get that tip out of the way. And a little bit of kind of shallow staining over on that side there. So that's no... I doubt whether this will even clear up at 60 thou, and that's at 45 now. Maybe I'll just take it out to 60 then, and no, I'm gonna have to think about it. Okay, no, it's looking pretty crap to be honest. All down that side's not very good either. Sorry about the phasing, but I can't show it any other way. There we are there. Okay, I'm going to pause at that then, because that's not looking very good at all. This block has a damaged port, and I need to work out how much work I want to put into it. That's been repaired, but how sound is the repair? That's the question. What I wanted to do was to get it running, just to test out the validity of the repair. I've got more questions and answers as usual. Righto, thanks very much then, I'll catch you next time, bye. Hello, I've come back out to have a look at this block. I've got a 60 thou piston over there, and I've just measured it. And obviously now this is bored to a size that would take a 45 thou piston. But it's got those pits down there. So what I am going to do, I'm going to go out to 60 thou. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to push the boring bar in that direction a bit. Now I've got to open it up 15 thou, but that's 7.5 thou on each wall. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move about 5 thou that way, and I'm just trying to work out how I can do that effectively. Because what I'm thinking is, if I take a couple of thou off this side, 2.5 thou off this side, I can take 12.5 thou off that side. Offset the bore 5 thou that way. Let's just do it as an experiment. I don't think it'll clean up even then, but it might be get it to the point where I'm just about prepared to run it. Back in a bit. I've clamped that parallel down there. It's actually a large lathe tool, and it's clamped down with that clamp, and I'll put that test indicator there, and I'm hoping that that will be good enough to tell me when I've moved 5 thou. Now I know they're not the most accurate, but you know, 5 thou, 6 thou is good enough for me. So I'm going to undo the clamps and move it in that direction, 5 thou. Okay, wish me luck. Okay, so there's the dial gauge. So I'm going to move this 5 thou now. How am I going to do that? Let's try bumping it with a mallet. So there's the dial gauge. Let's go bumpy on here. Oh, you looking? Can you see? Okay. 5 thou. Okay, within the realms of the tools at my disposal, that's about the best I can do. I haven't changed the radius of the tool, so when I set it running, it should just take a cut off that side of the cylinder, a 5 thou slice off that side of the cylinder. It shouldn't touch over here. And then when I bring it out to the diameter, hopefully it will take a cut all the way around. I'm experimenting, first time I've done it. As always, everything's the first time. But I have heard of people moving a bore a few thou, so I'm going to try it. Okay, back in a bit. Well, that seems to be working, because the cut is predominantly on that side, and you can see it featuring away to nothing on this side. I've got to go as big as I can, because those things are still there. That's with that extra 5 there taken off that side. And there's big shadow that side, so I'm hoping that shadow will be taken out on this run through, and we'll get rid of a lot of that. I don't think it will work, but you never know. I might just take the decision to cross my fingers and just run it and see what happens. Hello. I just took this mirror and looked up there, and you can see the tools pop down the bottom, and I looked and I saw where the Allen key goes in, and I was able to put the Allen key in and slacken the tool and just push the tool back so that I can draw it out, without scratching the bore. Okay, it hasn't cleaned up all the way down. I'll get the thing out and we'll have a look. Right, you can see the worst little bit over there. Look, you can see where there's those. You can see where there's those 3 little blemishes. Down there, look. They've got some sort of like carbon in them. There's a bit of a, hang on. There's a bit of a shadow over there, but actually it doesn't feel too bad, that. And I think with a bit of honing you'd lose most of that down there. I'll explain my sort of dilemma. This block, I managed to cut through the valve bowl and I've repaired it. So I want to run the engine to prove that that repair is okay. If that repair is okay, and it means that this engine is a viable engine, I could take that cylinder to 3 5/16 and take it all to 3 5/16 and run it as a 276 inch. It's got the 4-inch crank, 3 5/16 bores, and that's it. And it could actually be a decent engine if that repair is any good. I'm not prepared to do that all that work and have all the expense of those pistons and rings if the engine is no good. So I'm almost at the point of kind of making my mind up that, completely disregarding the fact there's a slight bit of damage on that bore there. If I shove a used 60 thou piston in there, 30 thou everywhere else, which is what the bores are. So I'm going to hone all the bores, 30 thou pistons across the board, except for that one, 60 thou in that one, French cam converted to 59A, French lifters, French valves. It's got the hogged out ports. I'll do a little bit of clean up on the ports, a little bit of clean up everywhere else, and get it running. The same cam, I'll use the crank as it is, the bearings as they are, big ends and mains. Let's just get it running, let's see it running, hear it running, put it in a vehicle and drive it. It might prove a reliable runner, and if it proves a reliable runner for long enough, it could get a high performance rebuild at some point in the future. So that's my immediate plan, is disregarding that damage down there. I think that will run. It's not ideal, but let's say that if that cylinder was just 5% off, you know, being perfect, let's say it runs at 95% of, you know, its potential, or 90%, let's say. Well, there's still 7 others. It's only 90% of an eighth. There might be a small compensation by the fact that it's 60 thou instead of 30 thou. So, you know, I've got like a set of 60 thou pistons that are all odd miss ones, and some have got badly worn ring grooves, but I'm sure I can find one decent one and one set of rings that will go in there. So all I need to do is cross my fingers and hope that the pin fits the French rods and that the weight is similar. If the weight is different, I will try and match all 8 pistons to the weight of the lightest one, including the pins, because the French pins tend to be quite heavy, I think. That's my plan. Whether or not I actually go ahead and carry out that plan now is another matter, but that is what I will do to this engine, and presumably if and when I do more to it, that will make the subject of another video. Thank you very much for joining me in the garage then. You take care, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.